Good day doodlers, welcome to Draw Cartoons. This video is going to cover my top 12 tips for learning how to draw, especially crafted for beginners, and a great refresher course for advanced artists too. Don't forget to throw us a like on the video if you enjoy it, and ensure you watch the whole thing through because you are very likely to learn something new today. Maybe even something that could change the way you learn to draw forever. So here we go, my top 12. Let's get started. But first, if you want to learn to draw the fast and easy way, make sure you subscribe to the channel and ring that bell. Let's begin. So I think, fundamentally speaking, the very most important thing, the first thing I want to tell you about learning to draw is you're going to make mistakes. You're going to make a lot of mistakes. Every single drawing that you ever do is going to have errors, but that's completely okay. Everyone is in the same boat, and I'm the same. I've been drawing for about 2 decades, probably longer than that now. The years are going by quicker and quicker, I swear. But I still make mistakes, even to this day. And as Jake from Adventure Time once said, great show, sucking at something is the first step towards becoming kinda good at something. And truer words were never spoken. Like, that's absolutely the truth. Like, you have to stumble before you can walk. You have to make these errors. So every time you sit down and you draw and you make a mistake, you draw a line wrong or something doesn't look right, don't worry about it. Use those mistakes. Don't get angry, scrunch it up and throw it in the bin. Use those mistakes to learn and grow as an artist. And what I mean by that is look at your drawing and identify what went wrong and what you don't like about it. Like, look at it and go, I don't like this, this is wrong. But also at the same time, make sure that you identify the things that you did do well, even if it's just one thing, and then do that again next time. Just retain that. Use it as a learning experience, because that's what failure is. We fall down to pick ourselves back up again. I'm throwing quotes at you here from Batman now, but I'm pretty sure you know where I'm coming from. And like I said, I still mess up even now. I've been drawing for a long time, so don't worry, it's going to happen. And all I can say is you want to make sure that you want to get used to that quite quickly to help you build confidence. Now, the second tip, right before you even begin to draw, this is something that I see surprisingly often actually, so I thought I'd bring it up. Think about how you're holding your pencil or whatever your drawing weapon of choice is, be it a Sharpie straight away or if you're a madman. Think about how you're holding that while you're drawing. It's likely too tight and far too rigid. You're probably squeezing the pencil to give yourself the impression that you have absolute control over the lines that you're drawing. Don't do that. Relax a little bit. Keep it a little bit loose while ensuring that you're still keeping control of your pencil or whatever you draw with. Some people I've taught to draw have been drawing like they're trying to engrave the paper with their art, and when you turn the sheet of paper over, there's like ridges, there's bumps where the pencil was. That shouldn't be the case. That should never be the case. I mean, okay, there's going to be a few at places where you've gone over the same line a few times to kind of like shade it in or make it look a bit more bold. But the whole drawing should not be pressing through the paper and practically ripping it. Just be gentle and just have fun with it, and be loose and relax your grip of the pencil a little bit, and you might actually find that you enjoy drawing a lot more because it feels like less of an effort, and you'll actually improve faster. Now, another thing before you start drawing is don't run before you can walk. It's really good to challenge yourself and give yourself like a really big project to tackle, but you should only really do that once you've built your confidence up a little bit. There's nothing wrong with just starting really simple. Start with something that's, keep your feet on the ground and go easy on yourself while you're starting off, and then you can tackle complicated things later. Just start with easy characters. Try drawing a Ditto from Pokemon or Kirby from Nintendo. Start with something quite basic, quite simple, and then once you've mastered that, then start to maybe add details to that character that make it unique, or try more dynamic and more dramatic poses as you develop as an artist. But this kind of thing doesn't come overnight, so it is important to start at those lower stages and allow yourself to build the skill and confidence. And it will take some time, but you'll know when you get to the point where you can start drawing some really complex stuff. It's all about building your confidence. And speaking of confidence, Now, this is by far the most risky tip in this entire list, but hear me out here. So, obviously, when you sketch, you'll very often be using a pencil for obvious reasons. If you make a mistake, you can kind of rub it out and start again. But here's something to actually help you build your confidence. It might sound counterintuitive at first, but trust me, it'll very likely work for you. Try sketching with a biro, like an actual rollerball ink pen, rather than a pencil. A biro feels quite similar to a pencil in the way that you hold it and the way that you use it, the way that you kind of stroke the page over and over again to kind of build shapes, which is something I'll come to later. And you're thinking, well, hang on, if I'm using a biro, then I can't erase my mistakes. Well, that seems crazy. But you can't erase your mistakes, but that's because if you do make an error while you're sketching with your biro, then you can then change that error into a unique feature for your drawing. You can then kind of build on that, add some shapes and add some detail. Like say you're drawing a character's leg and a line just kind of goes off to the side accidentally. Oh no, I guess I have to draw the leg over here now. No, you don't. You could add a tassel, add something hanging off the leg. It could be anything you like. Just kind of use it to teach yourself to adapt. And I think that's actually quite an important thing to learn, because even when you go back to using a pencil once you've built some confidence up, you can then actually start using that as a technique to add some individuality to your drawings and really kind of diverge and put your own flair on it. So I think sketching with a biro, it's hard at first because you'll be so worried about making mistakes, but I mean, mistakes are going to happen. Like, don't worry about it. If you make an error, just transform it into something else. And what it can also do for a lot of people is, I guess it could make you more careful with your actual pen strokes because of that concern that you'll mess up badly. So that's definitely something that can happen. But really, sketching with a biro, it's an optional tip. You don't really have to do that one. But if you're struggling with confidence, I would say that's probably a good way to start learning. My next tip is use thumbnails, and this goes out to all you not so beginner artists out there as well, and myself included. I'm guilty of not thumbnailing. Thumbnailing can go a long way towards improving your drawing. Now what is thumbnailing? What exactly is that, I hear you ask? It's a small, really kind of messy, really kind of simple sketch of your drawing before you actually kind of go for it, right? It's really small, maybe in like the corner of your page, and it literally exists to plan your drawing ahead of time. That thumbnail is going to be nothing more than a thumbnail. You're not going to expand on that thumbnail. It's just like a practice run. It's like a draft. So if you're going to draw a character sat at a table or something, maybe there's a few portraits on the wall, maybe they're enjoying a nice dinner to themselves or something like that, it might be a good idea to thumbnail it out really quickly in the corner of your page, just small, just kind of box out those basic shapes so you have a plan ahead of time of how you want the drawing to look, and then get a fresh piece of paper and then just basically use that thumbnail as an idea source for going for the final drawing. Rather than just kind of jumping into it, it is really good to just have a plan for many things, and drawing and art in general is not an exception. You can do this to test silhouettes of your characters and layouts and poses, and you don't have to worry about details. Don't bother drawing the character's face. We're not bothered about that yet. You can just add really kind of basic shapes and just kind of build up an idea for that setting. Having a plan in mind like this can go a long way towards creating a detailed, high quality of work of art. And like I said, this tip goes for advanced artists too. It can be very tempting to save time and just kind of jump straight in and sketch your scene or whatever's going on. But your drawing might suffer for it because there wasn't a plan ahead of time. So that's one thing I can strongly recommend to artists of all levels is thumbnailing. This tip's a nice quick one. Use small strokes of your pencil. I did briefly mention this before when I was talking about using a biro. I would strongly recommend that you just make gentle kind of one at a time strokes of your pencil to build up a shape, rather than just going ahead and drawing the entire leg in one stroke. Don't do that. You'll lose control. You won't have as much control rather of the shape that you're drawing. So it's definitely important to do these small strokes of the pencil, and at first it might seem a bit of a weird way of doing it. It can kind of make everything look hairy, but as you do it more, you'll learn to kind of keep those small strokes in line, and it will really help you to develop even from basic and even to more advanced shapes. It's a great way of sketching. You'll see many artists do this when you see their tutorials online. Following on from that tip about small strokes, it's actually really useful to sketch out simple shapes or really a skeleton of your character to help form your drawing. And you can probably already tell I'm a big advocate of planning ahead when it comes to drawing. And really, if you feel better just kind of going for it without planning, then maybe that's just the way that you prefer to work. But I find, especially when it comes to learning how to draw, it's just so much more effective and you learn faster when you place down basic shapes and then basically draw around those shapes. You'll see in all of my drawing tutorials that I've done so far, with very few exceptions, I start with simple shapes, or I build out a skeleton, a kind of like mannequin of the character first, and then I build on that. I start adding the details on top of that mannequin, and it can really, like, it might honestly shock you, not to sound like some clickbait article, but it might shock you that the results are so different when you actually plan like this. Like try and do a little test here. Draw a character that you want to draw, I don't know, Mickey Mouse or Spider-Man or something. Draw that character straight up. Don't do any planning, just kind of draw the head and then draw the body and all that. And then on another piece of paper, sketch out those basic shapes, sketch out that skeleton, plan out the pose, and then draw the details over it. It'll take you probably quite a bit longer, but the actual end result will be fantastic. And art is not a race. You definitely want to go for a better quality result, even if it took you longer. And like I said, it might surprise you how much better it looks. Something else that comes up quite a lot, don't worry about making things perfectly symmetrical. I mean, a bit of symmetry is fine. I mean, you'll find in a lot of my tutorials I go for a symmetrical pose just because it's a bit easier to follow, and sometimes I don't, just because it makes the drawing look more interesting. But perfect symmetry, when you're literally kind of mirroring something, that's usually actually quite bad practice. I see a lot of beginner artists who try to make their art really symmetrical, and like I said, it's okay when the character is kind of facing the viewer. But as you gain more experience, you should learn to draw a character who's kind of facing to the side a little bit, and really kind of experiment with the poses. Don't have the arms hanging in exactly the same way, maybe have one leg slightly more bent than the other. Don't aim for perfect symmetry. Symmetry is actually quite unnatural, even in cartoons. Human eyes notice symmetry right away. This example on screen kind of says exactly what I'm talking about. One is just a normal human face, and the other one is a perfectly symmetrical human face. And the perfectly symmetrical one looks weird because we're used to seeing faces that fundamentally they're symmetrical. You know, you've got a mouth and a nose in the middle, and you've got two eyes. But there are little imperfections, there are little things that are different on each side of the face that we're so used to seeing that we just kind of stop noticing them. But when those things aren't there, they really stick out. So don't get anything perfectly symmetrical. Play around with the details and make it look just a little bit different on each side. And this doesn't just go for faces either. It can go for all kinds of background objects. It can go for like trees, anything typically organic, anything that's alive and can move. This is generally a good tip for those things. On that note, don't be afraid to just make things uneven. Just go to town and keep things looking a bit different on both sides, like I said. So when it comes to like the branches of a tree or bangs of a character's hairstyle, something like that, don't make them all equal in size and shape like here on the left. You don't want to do it like that. It doesn't look great. Be creative, draw hair strands at different lengths or going in different directions, varying widths, varying bits of detail in tree branches. Maybe some have more leaves than others. Just go crazy with shapes and sizes, especially if it's a cartoon. You can really kind of exaggerate this and go a little bit over the top, and it can give your drawing so much character when you just make this little change. Here's something that more advanced artists do all the time, and I don't feel like a lot of beginner artists actually kind of realize this. So I feel like this is kind of a secret tip passed from more advanced artists to beginners. Learn from reference. Take existing images of things that you want to draw, even if it's something simple like a lamp, or something more advanced like a character that you really like, or a place. You should absolutely grab reference pictures of the thing that you want to draw. It's not cheating. Just have that picture off to the side. Don't trace it. I'll do a whole video on tracing eventually, I think. It's a whole other topic. But have that picture off to the side, and then just go for it. Just draw that character. If you want, just try and completely mimic the pose, try and mimic the scene in your own sketch. It's a great way to learn, and you'll pick up techniques in their drawing style. You'll realize, oh, they only draw the legs at this certain width on Mickey Mouse, or this tree has branches that go in all kinds of different directions. Use reference and learn from it. Here's a test for you to just show you this in practice. Try drawing something from memory. Okay, so a computer screen or something less basic like a tree. Try drawing a tree from memory, and then once you've drawn your tree from memory, try drawing a tree again while looking at a picture of a tree. And you'll notice that your brain and your eyes are translating that image in different ways. Your brain is telling you, well, a tree looks like this, so I'm just going to draw a tree the way I remember it. But when you use your eyes to draw instead, God, you might really surprise yourself with how different the end result can be. You can look at that final drawing and you'll find it has so much more detail, it looks so much more natural because you've used a reference. And referencing like this can really mean night and day between two drawings from exactly the same person, no matter their experience. We're getting to the end now. Another big tip for you, and I do bring this up in my drawing tutorials every now and again. Always consider the three-dimensional shape of your character. And I can't stress this enough. This is something that I find a lot of beginners really struggle with this concept, and that's understandable because it's not something that's particularly intuitive. It's not something that you think about every time that you draw a character, but when you do start thinking about it, when you do start implementing that into your character design and your drawings, whatever you're doing, it can really mean night and day again. Like, it really injects so much character and improvement into your drawing. It's easier, for example, like this arm on the left, for example. It's easier to just draw a straight line for the hem of that sleeve, for the arm to come out of. But that's only going to look like that if you're looking perfectly at the sleeve from that angle, which is rarely going to be the case. I mean, the next time you're hanging out with a friend or something, just kind of look at their sleeve and just kind of look at the way it hangs around their arm. You don't just see a straight line, you see an arm coming out of a circle. So that's the way that you should get used to drawing arms. And I really encourage you to draw arms like that. I mean, we're just talking about arms right now. This extends to so many other things. It extends to tattoos on the body. It extends to watches around the wrist, hairbands around your hair. It extends to so many things that just kind of rest on the body, and this is particularly important for character design and drawing characters. The 3D shape is so important to consider all the time. Now, if you take nothing else away from this video, just take away this final tip, because I think this is probably the most important one that I'm going to mention today. This is especially for those of you who've stuck around to the end of the video, so thank you for watching it through. And this tip is this: it's never too late to start learning. It's always too soon to give up. Thanks so much for watching. Leave a comment down below, any feedback that you've got, if you'd like more tips in the future. I'd absolutely love to do those. And yeah, don't forget to drop us a like on the video and subscribe if you want to keep learning to draw the fast and easy way. I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you very much.